A strong arm of the law tipping the scales of justice.
These are first-degree murder cases. These are the worst of the worst.
A public defender fighting for balance after a high court ruling.
Who you are at 16, 17 is not who you're going to be at 40.
And a convicted murderer weighing a chance at freedom.
I'm working to have people forgive me, but right now I'm asking for mercy.
The Supreme Court says juveniles who commit murder should have a second chance at freedom at some point in their life, even years after their conviction. The ruling based on science. They say a child's brain is more susceptible to peer pressure, has poor impulse control, but is capable of rehabilitation. But as you'll see, that ruling isn't so black and white.
He's really grown up into a responsible 40-something-year-old man who recognizes the horrible mistake he made.
Sofia Nelson says she would have no problem living next door to convicted murderer Eddie Spiller. That is, if he's ever granted a chance at freedom.
Has turned his life around and desperately hopes for a second chance.
Ms. Nelson relentlessly fighting for a lesser sentence for 42-year-old Spiller. Spiller serving life for a crime he committed at 17 years old. It was the perfect plan, robbing a known drug dealer, Ricky Taylor, and the three conspirators would split the loot. But the plan took a deadly turn.
The drug deal robbery turned into a homicide. Mr. Spiller shot the victim through the back of the head and killed him.
Genesee County Prosecutor David Leyton says the other two defendants guilty of armed robbery or second-degree murder. But Spiller pulled the trigger, and the juvenile, the youngest of the trio, locked up for life.
I don't think it's fair to say we're being unreasonable. I don't think it's fair for those out there to say, well, you're defying the Supreme Court.
But that's exactly what Nelson believes prosecutors are doing. She's not only representing Spiller, but the State Appellate Defender's Office is taking on the cases of some 200 of more than 300 inmates in Michigan, all of them sentenced to life as juveniles.
Prosecutors are supposed to exercise their discretion within the law, and the law says that only the very rarest of juveniles who are irreparably corrupt can have a sentence of life without parole.
These are the rarest of cases. The other cases have been dealt with in years past, and leniency was given, pleas were given, juries convicted the individuals of lesser crimes. Some of them were dealt with in the juvenile system.
But Eddie Spiller himself insists he's not the worst. In a rare prison interview, I spoke to Spiller on the phone, hopeful that the Supreme Court ruling will one day allow him to see the other side of his prison cell walls.
You know, I don't want people to think that I'm entitled to it because of a court decision. I want to show that I actually deserve a second chance, that I'm not the same teenager that I was, 25 years ago.
That kid had everything going for him, a supportive family, and he did well in school. While in prison, he's earned his GED, mentored new inmates, and is certified in electronics and computers.
I understand the implications of the incident that happened. Mr. Taylor was a loved person in his family, and I acknowledge that, and I was very wrong for that. And now I'm just asking for mercy.
I took my conversation with Spiller to Prosecutor Leyton. Leyton said Spiller's sentence is under consideration as his office is working to track down the victim's family for their input. But for now, his petition to reinstate a sentence of life without parole stands. The I-Team discovered in Mid-Michigan's two counties with the most cases, Genesee and Saginaw, it's a common theme. Prosecutors want the majority of these juvenile murderers to remain locked up for life. Genesee County is asking 22 of 26 to be resentenced to life. That's 85%. Saginaw County, 95%. Initially petitioning to have all 21 remain locked up for life. Saginaw County Chief Assistant Prosecutor Christopher Boyd said in a statement, "We reserve the right to have them all sentenced to life without parole until such time as we are able to gather all the information necessary to apply those factors." And he went on to say they are working to evaluate each case as some are 35 years old. And just this month, a change of heart from his very office, withdrawing the petition to resentence Henry Hill Jr. to life. Hill committed murder at just 16 years old in 1980. The now 53-year-old has spent 36 years behind bars. His new sentence, 34 and a half years. meaning he's now eligible for parole, making him the first to be resentenced in Saginaw County.
I'm just overjoyed. I cannot believe it's the day I've been waiting for.
Once he's out, Hill's family says the first order of business, take him to McDonald's for a hamburger. A simple freedom most take for granted. A freedom Eddie Spiller hopes will someday become his own reality.
I really haven't had a chance to actually, I guess, live life the way that, Sofia or you are living life now. And so I have a lot of ideas of how I would like to live life, but I don't know if they're realistic in some nature.
It's not too late for the prosecutors in either of those counties to adhere to the rule of law and exercise their discretion. Just because they filed seeking life without parole doesn't prevent them from withdrawing the motion.
Now, in my previous I-Team report on this subject, I featured juvenile lifer James Washington III. He wrote this very essay that was published in the Michigan Review of Prisoner Creative Writing this year. He says it's an honest depiction of his defining moments in prison from a juvenile lifer to the man that he is today. Now, we've posted his essay on the TV5 homepage, WNEM.com.